Sister Jacqueline Peloquin has much to celebrate as she passes her 50th year as a Sister of Charity. The Springfield native has a resume of service to God that includes missionary work in the most remote regions of Canada. Kathy Harrington reports now on her adventure-filled life serving the poor.
For 50 years, Sister Jacqueline Peloquin has lived God's call to serve. The where has been in some of the most remote places in North America.
I've spoken with other sisters, and why enter at a particular time? It's just that attraction is so strong. It's that time. You don't plan it, you just seem to know.
On the first Saturday in September, Sister Jacqueline attended Mass with her family at Springfield's Mary Mother of Hope Church. It was the eve of her return to Canada. That is where she has spent the last 50 years as a Grey Nun, as a member of the Sisters of Charity congregation founded by St. Marguerite Duville.
My mother had great faith. When my mother spoke of God, he wasn't a stranger, like speaking to you. So our faith begins somewhere, it begins at home.
Inspired in part by her aunt, Sister Jacqueline wanted to become a nun.
I just always sort of knew.
Sister Jacqueline remembers growing in her faith, making her first communion at St. Thomas Aquinas Church.
I think I always wanted to, but the closer I got to it, I wouldn't mention it to anyone. I didn't want people to know.
Once-a-year family vacations to Canada included visits to her aunt, a member of the Sisters of Charity of St. Hyacinth.
She was in this huge house. I almost wondered what they did. And then one day we happened to go into her classroom. We surprised her, and she started crying. I guess she couldn't believe it. And when I saw these children, it just, that's what, English, that's what attracted me, the children. And I remember consciously thinking, when I grow up, I will love children like these.
The oldest of 5 children, upon graduating from Sacred Heart High School in Springfield, college wasn't a possibility for this working-class family. It was 1966, and the 18-year-old entered the novitiate of the Sisters of Charity of St. Hyacinth in Ottawa. It's a time she calls lonely.
I'm in another country, and postulants and novices, we did not have contact with the other sisters. So the formation, you were pretty much, I don't know, isolated is the right word. When my mother wrote her first letter, I started crying.
The novitiate was a year of studies, the Bible, religious life, and church history.
You learn about yourself if you have the aptitudes, and they also study you. And after this year of intense study, you know, you're learning what you're getting yourself into. Now, to what you are engaging yourself. Am I made for this, or will I be able to?
Before taking her first vows, she studied at Notre Dame College in New Hampshire, eventually earning a bachelor degree in education.
I never thought I was really ready. I thought it was overwhelming. She met each of us individually, and I said, oh no, I'm not ready. She says, you're ready.
Her parents were on hand for the first vows and the celebration.
And going off to missions. So I went to northern Manitoba, my first, oh my God, first experience. Shock, culture shock. There was a book at that time, Culture Shock. Ay, ay, ay.
The trip took 2.5 days by train just to get to St. Boniface, Winnipeg.
Because we were in isolated missions. You had to take a bush plane in. So it's a whole gigantic adventure. Oh, it was just, I said, where did they send me?
Finally arriving on an Indian reservation in North Manitoba, Sister Jacqueline was posted as a teacher at St. Teresa Point, closer to the Arctic Circle than to her family in Springfield.
No telephones, no televisions. We would listen to the Voice of America. I thought we were somewhere far, far away, which we were. But the children were just superb, and where I learned community life.
The sisters were teachers for Northern Indian Affairs. Their living conditions were rough, 30 to 40 degrees below zero in the winter, and bordering a frozen lake that became a winter highway and the fastest way to travel.
When I was up north, the children had a hunger to hear about Jesus.
The sisters prepared the children for First Communion, held communion services and funerals, and because the priest covered 5 Indian reservations, they also prepared young women for their wedding ceremony.
There was a special connection. I loved all of them.
Among her former students was a boy who grew up to be chief of the reserve.
And he says, "Sister, I want to show you my children." So I'm the age of a great-grandmother for them. So they had 5 children, so Linda and Freddie with their children. And it's good to go back.
Now, decades later, she calls this first mission to Manitoba her most proud accomplishment. Over the years, Sister Jacqueline earned a bachelor degree in theology. Later, following 2 more missions in Manitoba, she received a master's degree in theology.
What I feared oftentimes was the greatest learning experiences.
In addition to teaching, Sister Jacqueline has served as formation director for her congregation. She says there is growth for the Sisters of Charity in Haiti, a place she describes as having great beauty and great poverty.
I've been 5 times, so the first time is shock. Schools, education is greatly important. And even on the streets, see all these children in uniforms. If you happen to see a child with no uniform, you know that child doesn't go to school. So we have, I'm proud of that. We have one school after the program, after school, for the poor who cannot afford to send their children to regular school. So the wealthier schools support the other schools.
With churches full and 2 Haitian nuns on the Sisters of Charity Council, the future is destined to be the poor Caribbean island.
We have over 55 sisters, we have 11 missions, and 29 apostolates. So this is the dynamism is in Haiti.
Sister Jacqueline offers a bit of wisdom for young women discerning a vocation today.
To listen, because it's a gift. It's a gift, and it gives joy. You want to explore that joy, that source. Why is it there? What does it want from me? What does God want from me? To go out and discover as much as possible.
For Sister Jacqueline, the joy in this Golden Jubilee year included a private celebration with her community, followed by a celebration with her family at the Mother House in Canada, and another in the spring with her family in Western Massachusetts. In Springfield, I'm Kathy Harrington for Reel to Reel.
Marguerite DeVille, the founder of the Sisters of Charity, became the first Native Canadian to be elevated to sainthood. For women discerning a vocation, there is a website called the Vision Vocation Network to help to match your interest with those of religious communities. We have a link at iobserve.org.